is where we make our stand.
I've heard many times that there's no point in debating a flat earther, and that I'm wasting my time by even addressing the topic. I've explained before why I consider flat earth to be a dangerous idea, but let me address that former point. I disagree that there's no point in debating, because the debate, and even the debunks, aren't really for the flurfs. All of that is really for people who might be on the fence, people who have heard about this ongoing debate and realize they aren't entirely certain about the shape of the earth. If these people are honest, and perhaps even if they're not, they'll attempt to seek out research done by both sides, and then come to a conclusion on their own. What I am doing is providing ammunition to keep this anti-science sickness from spreading too far. When it comes to convincing flat earthers themselves, I am well aware that I will never achieve this. Flat earthers are not seeking to learn anything. They have no interest in objective truth. What they want is to indulge their me-centrism. The heliocentric model holds that Earth is not the center of the universe, or even the solar system. It holds that, in fact, every solar system has a star, or numerous stars, at their center. The old geocentric model, however, holds that Earth is at the center. But not only is Earth at the center, everyone on it is too. They're God's perfect little children in God's perfect little snow globe. What this ends up translating into is significance versus insignificance. I've talked about this before as well. Flat earthers are afraid of their insignificance. On a planet of 7 billion people and growing, where scientists are learning every day how much more expansive our universe is than we once thought, they tremor with fear. This creates a complex mental defense mechanism that turns them into the hateful, narcissistic bullies we know them to be. Today, I'd like to analyze a few of the behaviors I notice with flat earthers and relate it back to this me-centrism that seems to be the heart of their whole theory. I recently had a discussion, and I use that word very, very loosely, with a user who goes by the unnecessarily confusing username of I know you know I know. Most of what they had to say was insults in the form of the word tranny, which I feel might be some form of subconscious desire. It's very common for flirfs to accuse globeheads of being gay, trans, or something else that's out of the norm. My suspicion is that this is some form of projection. Of course, both sides throw insults, but globeheads very rarely throw any shade that isn't directly linked to a flurfer's intelligence. We call them fools, idiots, morons, basement dwellers. They instead call us gay, trans, virgins, and strangely enough, nerds. Just a hint, guys, if you want to establish credibility, it's not good to paint yourselves as the high school jocks taunting the chess club.
They're playing detective. That's gay. You're gay!
Anyway, Mr. or Mrs. I know nothing eventually made a coherent point, sort of. They insisted that I take a look at a video that they considered to be the single most devastating proof against the heliocentric model. I reacted with my usual mild interest, and after I know nothing spammed the thread with a dozen more comments, including a number that were simply links and therefore flagged by YouTube as likely spam, I finally decided to take a look at it. I first had a look at this person's channel. I raised my eyebrows at the names of the saved playlists. Flat Earth, Wake Up, Deceivers. Oh, that's some pretty standard woo nonsense. But then it got strange. Globe tranny / shills, Baltard butthurt, and fake CGI and Bluebeam footage. This guy is a legitimate mental case. I no longer find him funny, but just sad. This is clearly a person so deep into their own delusions that they wouldn't know reality if they saw it. They've surrounded themselves in a cocoon of paranoia and me-centrism. I know nothing sees himself as an awake soul wandering amongst sleeping zombies, and nothing will ever convince him otherwise. Evidence of this will be presented in my breakdown of his unfalsifiable, undeniable, undebunkable flat earth proof.
In a busy world, I understand that people have a hard time finding the time for the truth, and that a 2-hour-long hangout might be difficult to find time for. So I wanted to repost a clip from our recent hangout titled, Globebusters Exposed as NASA SpaceX Shills Beyond Flat Earth, Spiritual Warfare Part 4. Seeing what an observer of a SpaceX launch sees in person is beyond hilarious, and anyone attempting to add any credibility to these events, beyond them being a staged Freemasonic pyrotechnic psyop, is a shill.
I already feel like I don't need to go any further. This is the definition of a dogmatic worldview. This footage is evidence of fakery, and anyone who doesn't believe so is in on the conspiracy. It's also an empty statement. Just saying that on its own doesn't mean anything. Watch, I can do it right now. Anyone who eats yogurt and doesn't realize it's only put on the shelves by lizard people who turn us all into effeminate zombies is obviously a half-breed 33rd level Mason sworn to secrecy by the blood of the unborn. My statement holds exactly as much water as his does, which is to say none.
If you are curious about how the fake flat earth, Freemason, New World Order, AE map and model shills fit into this psyop, please watch the entire hangout.
Do flurfs even know what rhetoric is anymore? I mean, how can you possibly fit more buzzwords into a single sentence? It reminds me of those modern antivirus ads clearly marketed toward the elderly, where they sneakily slip in the words dark web, knowing that this is a phrase not understood by most elderly people. They don't know what the dark web is, but they've heard about it on the news and they know it's something to be scared of. So you'd better get buying into that Masonic, Jewish, Socialist, Nazi cabal of flat earthism. Upgrade to the latest version of Norton Antivirus before it's too late.
Okay, I got a problem. That just does not look real. I don't. I'm confused. They've got all these kids there and all these people. Like, is this really what these people are seeing?
So says you. This I think I can tie back to the term hyperreality. This is an inability to distinguish reality from a simulation of reality. It's caused primarily by being exposed to too many simulations of reality, in the form of movies, video games, and anything else technology-centric, and it creates a disconnect that occurs in the mind when they see something that actually is real. It reminds me of a video I saw during a morbid curiosity phase in my teenage years of a man committing suicide. He was brought into a police interrogation room, clearly in a country where the guidelines for frisking suspects is lacking. He is sat down and given a bottle of water, and then the officers proceed to leave for a few moments. The man then calmly took a few sips from the water bottle, produced a small handgun from his pants, and shot himself in the temple. His head jerked to one side, and he slumped in the chair as officers ran back in to assess the situation. I remember feeling immediately skeptical of that footage. It must be fake, I thought to myself. There was no blood, no exit wound, it's all too muted and simple. It turns out the footage was completely real, and after my dark curiosities had gotten the best of me, I had seen enough footage to understand why I thought it was a fake. I had seen too many people get shot in the head in movies. In those, there's a deep splash of red against the wall. A portion of the victim's head is blown off, sometimes even reduced to a stump with a blob of white bone in the middle like mozzarella on a pizza. Every time it's blown out of proportion, and paints the picture that every gun-inflicted suicide happens this way. It certainly can happen that way, hint hint Bud Dwyer, but not every time. Factors like the angle of the shot, what the bullet hits within the head, and the caliber of the gun itself needed to be taken into account. What I learned that day was that saying, "it just looks fake," is a completely meaningless statement. Let's move on.
Remember the cloud making machine that NASA had?
Oh yeah.
All right. There it is. All right, so
Cloud making machine? Oh, I bet they're referring to SLS test burns, which, due to the chemical composition of rocket fuel, produces enormous billowing clouds of harmless steam that can almost completely fill the air. So yes, that is essentially the same thing as NASA's cloud making machine, but I think you've oversimplified it just a little bit.
I already think it's blue beam type technology. I'm calling it. They got the sound right. I think the fire itself is where the hologram is being projected onto. Right?
Right. Look at how high do you think it is right now?
What? The fire is where the hologram is being projected? Hologram of what? The rocket? The flames? Why does that need a hologram? You're not making any sense, man.
It hasn't really gone that much higher though.
Yeah, maybe. Are we up to 2,500 or 3,000 feet?
It almost looked like it slowed down on that angle.
Yeah, now watch. Watch this.
It looked like it slowed down. Wow, what a f***ing revelation you've had. Here's a question. Do cars appear from your perspective to be going faster when they're halfway down the road or when they're directly beside you? Do you even know how perspective works? The further away something is, the slower it appears to be moving. Basic fact.
Wow. It's just a shiny light in the sky.
It's just an orange dot.
It's just... it's like...
Oh really? It's just a shiny light in the sky. Okay. Cue the montage of Red's launches.
You're going to be able to see where the beam is actually projecting up. All right, so
I got it zoomed in. Wow.
just watch.
The glass is rattling stuff.
I see it.
Can you see it?
I see it.
Yeah. It's all over the place. Yeah, you can see it.
I wonder
from
if I have
different
a
angles.
filter that I could throw on that real quick.
Oh, don't worry, buddy, I've got that covered for you. Let's take a still frame of what they're laughing at and adjust the brightness and contrast, shall we? Ah, I see it now. That spot where the sky is a tiny bit darker below the rocket. There's the blue beam CGI PSYOP special effect Luciferian hoax. It couldn't possibly be anything else. It couldn't be caused by leftover chemicals in the air from the extremely expensive and powerful blast of rocket fuel that just went through it. It couldn't be a camera lighting artifact. It couldn't be anything whatsoever except for evidence that confirms your conspiracy theory. All I have to say is, I'm done watching, and that's not how the scientific method works. These guys seem like they're having a good time. They're laughing, agreeing with each other, they're munching popcorn and taking the piss out of thousands of years of technological growth and thousands of years of people's hard work. But they're not proving anything. They've gone beyond that. They're just happy in their little echo chamber, obsessed with themselves and their wokeness. Red's Rhetoric once said in a debate that, "We don't care how enlightened you feel," and we really don't. Videos like this aren't going to do anything to convince people on the other side. It just isn't. I close with this shot-for-shot remake of their SpaceX debunk, made by myself and starring the wonderful people at Red Letter Media.
This is borderline experimental. This makes no sense at all.
If you like this video, please give it a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel, which is Dead Kennedy in Space. If you want to support me further, consider donating on Patreon or purchasing some of my work through Amazon or Teespring. Thank you, and I'll see you over the curve, Space Cowboys.
Live there, on the mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam, in a vast cosmic arena.